All right, big moves made in the NFL this week, both having big implications on the AFC and the picture of the AFC moving forward, with Davante Adams going from the Las Vegas Raiders over to the New York Jets. And then we also had Amari Cooper moving from Cleveland to Buffalo, help bolster out their receiving core a little bit. And I talked about really all of this on the podcast on Monday, so this is just a follow-up. Stay tuned to the end because we're going to go deeper on a somewhat of a theory that I have and a possibility and delve into some Kansas City Chiefs possible trades, I guess, really, or a possible trade. If you watch the or listen to the podcast on Monday, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. So smash that subscribe button if you are not subscribed. We are on the road to 300 still currently, and make sure you smash that like button if you enjoy the video or any of the content. So let's jump straight into these moves that happened this week. All right, so we're going to jump into the first move that we saw of the day. This was yesterday, early in the morning. As you can see, Ian Rappaport right here, a tweet from him. Davante Adams moved to from the Raiders to the Jets for a conditional third rounder. It could become a second rounder based on performance. Not 100% sure what the performance is, and not sure if it has come out yet. But I do think that it's a good move for both teams. I think it's good for the Raiders. Go ahead and move on from Davante Adams. I don't think that there was really much, even going into the season. I mean, I talked about it coming into the season of just, what was this going to mean? What was this going to look like? With them not going after a quarterback, not getting a quarterback anywhere. Kirk Cousins, was possible, thought to go to the Raiders. They didn't move up in the draft to take any of the guys in the draft. I don't think that really just they had their guy. I was interested to see how it would work out just from a perspective of they were like the only team that didn't really try to move up and actually, make or, just even try to make a move for a quarterback and how that would affect them, because it felt like they were kind of the only team that really were in desperate need of a quarterback that didn't decide to really act on it. So I think that's a good move for them, especially if that ends up becoming a second rounder. I think that'll be really good. We will see. We will see. Click this show more, see if there's anything else to this. Doesn't look like it. Back with his good friend Aaron Rodgers. If you saw the Pat McAfee, Aaron Rodgers Tuesday, I think that he comes on every week, where Davante Adams popped up in the middle of the show. Moving over to the second one. I think I think both of them are interesting for what we're going to talk about in a second. But the Bills and the Browns obviously trade Amari Cooper over. It's going to be a third-round pick swap. So the Browns are going to get a third in 2025 and a seventh in 2026. Meanwhile, the Raiders, getting the trades mixed up already. The Bills will get Amari Cooper in a sixth round in 2025. So essentially, the Browns just move up from the sixth round to the third round in this upcoming draft, and Buffalo will get, pretty much a conditional seventh round pick. I mean, it'll be a seventh round pick, but, one of those just kind of feels like, kind of threw it on there. A seventh round pick could become something. Who knows? I mean, obviously in the last few years, we've seen Brock Purdy, Isaiah Pacheco, both become stars in the league, essentially, both seventh round picks. And of course, Purdy, notable for being Mr. Irrelevant. I do think this is a good move for Buffalo. I don't know how much better really either of these teams get, moving these pieces. I don't know, I just don't know with the Jets. I don't know if the Jets are good enough that Davante Adams is going to make a huge change, especially with the firing of Robert Saleh. I think that may affect, honestly, the defense more than anything, just because he was so big with the defense, and the defense respected him so much, from what reports have said anyways. And so I don't know with New York if things really get too much better. Now Buffalo, on the other hand, I do think that they get a lot better here. I don't want to say a lot better, but they add a guy that is going to help them, right? I don't know how great of an addition Amari Cooper is at this point in his career. Certainly for this move, you're just giving up a third rounder. You're falling back to the sixth. I don't think that's a big deal, really, in the grand scheme of things. Of course, we go back a few years ago to the LA Rams. I mean, they traded everything under the sun. They didn't care about the picks. What did McVay say at the parade? Screw the picks. We'll win another Super Bowl or something to that effect. But for Buffalo, I do think that it's smart. I don't know if it's necessarily the guy that is going to put them over the top. I could be wrong, but I just think that offense is depleted enough receiver-wise that I just, just like I said on last week's podcast, I don't know if Josh Allen is the guy that's going to elevate these guys and make them, that much better to win right now with the current receiving core they have. Maybe Amari Cooper can help with that, but I feel like Amari Cooper had his best time where he had a very good number 2 with him, and his best years were in Oakland with Michael Crabtree on the other side. Big Amari Cooper fan at that point, which was crazy that the Raiders had a team that I really did like with Derek Carr, Amari Cooper, and Michael Crabtree. But I don't think that Amari Cooper is really the guy that's just going to be wide receiver 1 all by himself. Almost kind of reminds me of Jamar Chase right now with Amari Cooper in his prime, because Jamar Chase, I mean, you look at the numbers that he has without T. Higgins in the lineup. It's drastically different than when T. Higgins is in the lineup, and we've seen that in recent weeks. The Bengals offense has exploded. T. Higgins is back. So a big reason for that. So I don't know if Amari Cooper is necessarily the guy that is just going to overhaul this receiver room and make them, essentially great. I don't think that he's Stefon Diggs caliber of what Diggs gave them the last few years, but it is an upgrade nonetheless. So Mike Williams going to be an odd man out. MVS was already cut in Buffalo. So we'll see. We'll see what that brings with these new faces and these new places. I'm very interested to see how it works out. Obviously, the rapport is already there with Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, and I think will help out. But all in all, I don't know if the Jets as a team is good enough for Davante Adams to make a huge impact to changing the course of their season. Could be completely wrong, but I just don't see that happening. On the flip side with Buffalo, I think they do get better, but I don't know if it's enough. This is a team that is still kind of in that window of, being a Super Bowl contender. But again, I just don't know if it's enough to really put them over the hump, essentially, with losing Stefon Diggs, losing Gabe Davis. I mean, we have seen that receiving core, and it has not been great. But I do think that Amari Cooper adds a level of route running they don't have on the team currently. Maybe can help with Keon Coleman and, make Keon Coleman better. But we'll see. We got a lot of football left to play. It's just October, so we will see. And I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Is this going to make a big difference for either one of these teams? I don't think it is. I feel the same way today that I felt about both of these teams yesterday, although I do think they're both slightly better. All right, so now going back to what I was kind of talking about on Monday about the possible trade with one Tyreek Hill, as you see here. We have his contract pulled up. Kind of go back to show you what I was looking at the other morning while I was recording the podcast and talking about on the podcast. One thing that I will make very clear right now that I just was kind of looking into is this option. Now, I thought this option meant that you could kind of take out, and this would be able to be an option to let Tyreek essentially opt out of the contract. Not what it is. It's to opt in to pay to relieve the salary cap later on with the prorated bonus, which obviously here you can see that's what that says there. Anyways, so even though that is not the case here, I still think that this isn't a bad idea necessarily to go after Tyreek Hill. You can see it's void in 2027, so that gives you 2024 this year, 2025, and 2026 that Tyreek Hill would be a Kansas City Chief if he were traded back. Now, the cap is where we kind of get into a little bit of it's difficult. Obviously, Miami would have to help pay this. Now, how that would affect the compensation for Tyreek Hill would be interesting. Now, the other discourse I've seen on this possibility is that Tua is supposed to come back week 8. I think they're looking at like week 8 or 9, around that time frame. We are heading into week 7 now, so that's not far off. That would mean Miami would literally just punt on the season, I think, if you lose Tyreek Hill at this point. Are they ready to do that? Well, the Bills and the Jets both just got stronger. For Miami to concede and kind of go in lieu of draft capital, I don't think is insanely far-fetched. I don't know what the dynamic would be between Mike McDaniel and, say him getting fired at some point, because all of this doesn't work out. And I feel like, I don't know, Miami is what it is right now. And it feels like they're not going to be able to save themselves anyways, at least from my perspective. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. Is Miami salvageable in its current state? Can they be Super Bowl contenders? From what I've seen, I just don't believe it. I don't buy it. And I don't know if that means you need to go find a new quarterback. Honestly, in my personal opinion, I don't know how much longer Tua has left in him. Head injuries are scary, man. And I don't think that guys should just go out there, and continue to take head trauma. Coming from a guy that was a fighter and had been in countless gym wars, it wears on you. And going out there, I didn't play football, so I don't know. I don't know what the difference is from getting punched or kicked in the head versus, I'm sure it's probably more severe, if we're being honest, of a full-grown human running at you and hitting you in the head. Anyways, I digress. Let's go back to this current situation. Now, depending on what Miami could and couldn't pay, you also have the possibility of a restructure that kind of saves you some cap. Because I can tell you right now, and I think we've learned this from Veach and, the Chiefs, they are not going to pay this number right here for 2026, the year before that contract is voidable. That's not happening. That's not happening. that 51, and that's a lot of his old contract, I think, pushed onto that too, because, we do see, this number hit $32 million almost this year, nearly $28 million next year, about 27.5, and then you push to just under $52 million in cap the third year onto this in 2026. That's not going to happen. So there's going to have to be a way that you either restructure. I feel like you almost have to maybe kind of come to terms with Tyreek Hill of look, we're not going to be able to give you all that. They've already had the conversations behind closed doors, in the previous contract negotiation. So I don't know. I think there's a lot to figure out, and that's going to make this deal a lot more difficult. If it were to happen, I feel like it's definitely somewhat of a pipe dream at this point. I think DeAndre Hopkins would obviously be the easier target, and we'll go up here real quick, and I'm going to go ahead and look at DeAndre Hopkins and just see what his contract is looking like. I'm not sure if he's final year, where exactly he's at. So he'll have one more year of 2024 with a cap hit of $18.3 million. Cut pre-June 1, that is $12 million of dead money, $6 million cap savings. So, again, either one of these guys, I think that the contract's going to have to be sorted out between the two teams. The Chiefs obviously only have $4 million roughly around in cap space. I'll go ahead and go to that and show you as well. I was talking about that on the podcast right here. $4.1 million in cap. And this is where... And I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on the cap or any of this stuff because it is completely convoluted and difficult to understand. But I don't know if that puts the Chiefs in a weird spot with dead money, possibly with either one of those contracts. But either way, I do think it's a really fun thought, something to kind of play with and throw at the wall, just kind of see, just good conversation. So let me know in the comments below what you think about a possible reuniting. I don't know. I think I'm missing the word there, but hey, between the Chiefs and Tyreek Hill, if they reunite, what you think about it? If you think that it's even in the realm of possibility, let me know in the comments below. Make sure you smash that like button if you watch until the end. Smash that subscribe button. That word gets me every time. Smash that subscribe button for me. We are still on the road to 300 subscribers here on the channel. Podcast every Monday, and what else? We got film breakdowns coming as well. So had the offensive film breakdown come out as well on Monday. Check that out. I'll go ahead and link both of those film breakdowns from week 1 offense and defense in the description below. And until the next time, I just wanted to get on here and kind of give a quick update on what I thought about these trades and where my crazy brain's at with this possible Tyreek Hill trade. I've just kind of been thinking about it a lot this week after bringing it up on the podcast. So wanted to kind of give insight to that, and hopefully going to be here throughout the weeks with more updates and different things. So kind of playing around with the content and seeing, what I can do or what I'm enjoying doing. So again, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Hit that bell to stay notified when I post videos like this or the podcast or film breakdowns, whatever it is. If I'm talking about fighting, talking about the Chiefs, NFL, whatever it is, that bell will keep you notified. So until next time, go Chiefs.